So hello from Green-Mopeds in London. So today we're going to give you a static review of the Artisan EV2000r, which is a Vespa styled 2 kilowatt L1E, as in 50cc equivalent electric moped. We've put it alongside some other bikes, one from Artisan again and the Super Soccer CUX, just to give you some context. The first thing to talk about is the actual name. So Artisan are actually the importer, not the manufacturer. What they've actually done is gone to a company in China. In this case, we think it is a company called Ant Technology, and had these bikes made for them. And if you order enough of them, you can actually put your own logo on it. You can change the spec to some degree, and things like that. Choose different colours to the norm. So that's what Artisan have done. So as I said, this company is the underlying manufacturer of it is someone called Ant Tech. And the way you can tell this is if you see another bike with that particular logo on it, the chances are it's come from Ant Tech as well. We do actually know of 2 other companies that are selling this bike, one in the UK and one in Europe. They're not calling them the EV2000r, they're calling them something else. They might be a slightly different spec, but the telltale signs will be things like that logo on the nose, other design things like that grille underneath the seat, and stuff like that. What Artisan have done, however, is had this bike put onto the government grant, the UK government grant scheme. So what that means is, as we said before, you get a 3-year warranty on the battery and a 2-year warranty on the bike. So even if you find this bike in the UK that looks the same and is identical, you should check to see if it's on the grant. Even if it's a little bit cheaper but not on the grant, you will probably only get a 1-year guarantee on the entire bike. And as the batteries are about half the price of the bike, you would probably choose an Artisan over that other one, even if it's a little bit more money. In other words, you're paying a little bit more to have a 3-year warranty. Okay, that would be our suggestion. Anyway, both these bikes are, as far as we can tell, from a company called Ant Tech, the EVC on the left and the EV2000r. As you can see, it's a very stylish bike. Most people would choose this bike over from a style perspective rather than necessarily a spec perspective, and we'll tell you the spec as we go around. The price of it with one battery after the grant is £2,643, something like that. If you add the second battery at time of purchase, that extra battery will cost you just £400. If you buy it separately, it's £650. So again, it is better to buy the second battery at purchase time, because you're essentially gaining the grant aspect of the second battery and the 3-year warranty, obviously. Okay, so 3026 with 2 batteries. Some might say that for £3,000 you can get something like that NIU NQI GTS in the background, which will do 47 miles an hour, will do about 70 miles, and that is true. But again, you are choosing this bike more because of the style, I would suggest. Okay, it's unlikely that you're going to be comparing an NIU to an Artisan, simply because, you know, both of them are classic in their design and things like that. Anyway, with 2 batteries, this bike will do about 50 miles. The batteries, as you can see, are fairly small and compact. They're probably the same sort of weight as a NIU UQI Pro battery. Okay, so they're manufactured by LG, so a good make there. So again, what some manufacturers do is, even though the bike might be manufactured in China, the batteries are coming from a different country, one with a better reputation, which would be, you know, Taiwan, Japan. Sorry, not Taiwan, Japan. So this battery here is a 20 amp hour battery. So 20 amp hour batteries, or the amp hour rating of a battery, normally affects the range. So in other words, again, if you were looking at an NIU NQI GTS, you can get one bike with a 36 amp hour battery and another one with a 29 amp hour battery, and the difference is actually range. So having a 20 amp hour battery in effect affects the range. Okay, so as I said, the range of this bike is going to be 50 miles with both batteries. Interestingly, although not totally unique, they have made it so that you actually use the batteries one after the other. So here you can see the batteries, the battery in its slot with the cable connected. If you actually wanted to use the second battery, you would literally stop, flip the cable and then carry on. Okay, so you could say that's slightly inconvenient, but Super Socko do it with their T range of bikes, unless you buy something called a Y cable, so it's not particularly an issue. So essentially what you're doing is you're carrying that with you in case you need it. Okay, so that's essentially how it works. Okay, in terms of sort of other specs about the bike, so it's 1.9 meters long. Okay, so again a bit longer than normal. So if you look across the back of this CUX versus the EV2000, you can see that it has got more length to it, and it's certainly got more width to it, okay, in the body. So that is just obviously a styling choice. That is the width of the bike at the back there is about 60 centimeters. It's not wider obviously than the handlebars, so that's not a big issue. Okay, but what they've done is they've given you a bit of a storage area here. Okay, so in there you can see you've got your USB port for your phone, and because of the charger down here, which is 4 amp charger, so it will charge the battery, as in a single battery, in about 6 hours. Both the charger and your mobile phone can be put in there, but not a lot else. What they actually include on this bike as a standard feature, which you find in there when you first get the bike, is a seat cover, so covering the seat if it rains. Okay, but yeah, for some reason they didn't include the same option on this side, but I guess they could have done. However, they do provide a rear rack. Okay, so standard rear rack. Lots of other companies get you to actually buy the rear rack, except for Ascol. So that is a standard feature of the bike. So as you can see, it's good enough to either bungee something onto it or fit a top box. So for example, like that. You could put that on the back there if you wanted storage. As you saw, there was no other storage under the seat. Okay. One thing I guess they might have thought about is having the USB port somewhere near the front of the bike, so that you could actually put it onto a holder on the handlebars and still use it. But I guess if you can still charge it and use Bluetooth or something like that for the phone, then you're probably okay. Okay, so down the back here we've got obviously the hub motor. So as you can see there, it's 2000 watts, so that is its base power. That is in comparison, if you like, to this CUX, this is 1300 watts, so 2 kilowatts. That's just under 3 horsepower. Okay, so 3 horsepower is, you know, fairly average. It's equivalent to, say, NIU NQI. That's 1800 watts. So, you know, nothing particularly different about it. I guess they have connected up to only a 20 amp hour battery, but otherwise that's fairly normal. As you can see down here, you've got both a center stand and a side stand, so that's good. You don't have to heft the bike up. It weighs 87 kilos, and those batteries are weighing about 7 kilos each. Okay, so that's that. To start it, you have a key fob, or you can use obviously the key here. You've got various options on the key fob. It's got one of the loudest alarms that we know of, and as you can see now, the bike has been started just with the remote. Again, they're sticking to the sort of classical look. So here you've got a manual mileometer and this gauge here. So to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure how useful this gauge actually is, because it is not telling you range, and as we all know, range is the most important thing. It is sort of telling you how much the battery is discharging. So when you are riding this bike, if you watch our ride review, you will see this needle going up and down as we're riding it, as we're consuming more power, but it will then return to a lower place than high. Okay, so that is saying that this bike is fully charged, because obviously it's stationary, not drawing any power. And I guess if you were if you discharged half the battery, it wouldn't be up there. But when you're riding, it isn't really an indication of range, which I think they might have missed a trick there, because obviously lots of people are worried about range anxiety and things like that, but that's the way they've chosen to do it, to keep the sort of classical look. So here you have the kill switch, so that can either decide whether the bike works. So as you might be able to hear it, the bike is now chugging along because the kill switch is in the activate mode. You didn't see any movement on the speedometer because the actual speedometer is connected to the front wheel. Okay, so that's why. Here you've got other sort of standard features, you know, indicators silent, unfortunately. Okay, but they are working, and then you've got your full beam. I guess what they have done, and the horn, I guess what they have done as a sort of nod to modern tech is that they've actually included an LED light along with a halogen. So you are getting a bit of a better light. That might be a Euro requirement. Okay, so in terms of other features that you can get on this bike, it comes in 4 colours. So this is the grey. They do a sort of sky blue, quite a bright green, and a white. And then by default, the bike comes with vinyl seats, okay, by default, just like Super Socco and NIU and all the rest. But Artisan have also added some other choices of leather seats. So they offer actually 5 different options. So in total, there are 4 combinations of colour of the bike and 8 combinations of seat. Okay, they can be this one, obviously this is brown leather, they do brown vinyl, they do white, they do red, they do black, vinyl and leather, etc, etc. Okay, so you do have quite a choice in terms of how this bike actually looks, more so than anyone else, and that is what Artisan are doing. Even on their CR6, they are doing which is a Horwin bike, they are giving different options on the seat. The seat, extra seat costs, or new seat costs about £100 more. They also do a front rack, okay, so that would sit here and it folds down, okay, and then you'll end up with somewhere you can, again, bungee something to. In theory, you could put another small sort of storage container on it, but probably you would bungee something to it. And then lastly, they have the option of adding a windscreen, so essentially just like this one here, okay. Okay, so the windscreen is about £100 and the front rack is about 68. Okay, so top speed is 28 because it's an L1E. It is comfortable for 2 people because it's got a flat seat without any ridge, which I've mentioned before. It doesn't have foot pegs for the second person, so you do actually have to get the second person's feet in on this. So, you know, that's my foot, and then there should be enough space for the second person behind. Okay, so no pegs, which is slightly different from this EVC that you see here that does have the pegs. Okay, but otherwise, as I said at the beginning, it is about the style. You would be looking at this bike maybe in comparison to the EVC. The EVC is a 45 mile an hour bike, so that might be a reason to choose one or the other. But if you really want a bike that looks like a sort of Vespa style bike from the 60s, then this is your primary choice. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. We have done a ride review, so if you'd like to check that one out as well, you'll see how we get along with it. But any questions, or if you want to come have a test ride, then please let us know. Thanks very much.